and today we are going to see the editorial analysis of 26th January 2022. This issue which is there the last week's newspaper, and this is continuing to the editorial form. So what is the exactly this issue is about, and we are going to study in this editorial format today. And what is the topic? What is the heading here? Why is India challenging WTO verdict on sugar? So this is what the topic is about. So we will go into the context about, and in this editorial I am going to tell you elaborately about this issue, and also in this many important prelims points, the prelims point of view, the questions, and also the mains concept wise is very important in this topic, and please try to follow this. And what is the context of this here? Because India this week filed an appeal with the appellate body of the World Trade Organization disputing a verdict by the WTO dispute settlement panel on sugar subsidies. So this is what India has filed last week. The WTO dispute settlement panel had ruled that India, by subsidizing sugar producers, was breaking rules framed under the General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade, which governs the international trade. So this is what the dispute settlement panel has ruled to India, that is, by subsidizing these sugar producers, they are breaking the rules which were framed under this GATT. So this question can be asked in prelims point of view. So we all need to know about this GATT and the WTO dispute settlement panel, and what this governing international trade body is saying, and what is the background about this exactly. In 2019, Australia, Brazil and Guatemala, these countries has complained against India, the WTO, arguing that the subsidies which were offered by the Indian government to the sugar producers were against the rules governing the international trade. These are all the complaints which were given by these countries to the WTO, and they argued that these subsidies, which include both the domestic subsidies as well as the export subsidies, which exceeds the limits imposed by the WTO trade rules. This is what the argument by these countries to the WTO against India. And according to the WTO rules, this is important in prelims point of view. According to the WTO rules, subsidies cannot exceed 10% of the total value of sugar production. So how this is important for prelims? If question is asked, they can confuse you with one of the option with this point, that is, the subsidies of the WTO rules cannot exceed 10% of the total value of sugar production. So this is important for prelims point of view. So these countries believe that the subsidies which were offered by India have led to increased production of sugar and caused the price of sugar to drop significantly in the global market. This is what they believe, and after the 2 years the WTO ruled that India's sugar policy was favoring the domestic producers through subsidies to the detriment of foreign producers. And India has stated that WTO's dispute panel ruling has made certain erroneous findings about the domestic schemes to support sugarcane producers and exports, and the findings of the panel are completely unacceptable to it. And what the panel has said to that? Because the panel has said, that is the WTO's dispute settlement panel has said, they recommended that India withdraws its alleged prohibited subsidies under the production assistance, the buffer stock and the marketing and transportation schemes within 120 days from the adoption of this report. This is what the WTO's dispute settlement panel has told. Against this, India has said this thing. And another point here, the WTO's agreement on subsidies and countervailing measures, that is shortly we will calling that as SCM. The WTO agreement on SCM disciplines the use of subsidies, and it regulates the actions countries can take to counter the effects of subsidies. And here also one more point, the country can launch its own investigation and ultimately charge extra duty, that is countervailing duty, on the subsidized imports that are found to be hurting domestic producers. So this is also one of the factor under this SCM. And what is WTO's agreement on the agriculture? So here the agreement on the agriculture is that it is aimed to remove the trade barriers and to promote transparent market access and integration of global markets. This was the WTO's agreement on agriculture, which was aimed to remove the trade barriers all over the global market. We are talking here about the global markets. The WTO's Agricultural Committee oversees implementation of the agreement and provides a forum for members to address related concerns. Now we are talking, the dispute is about the sugar production. So we need to know how the sugarcane industry is in India, how this crop is growing, and what exactly is about this industry we need to study here. So here the India is the second largest sugar producer in the world, and Brazil is the major producer. After Brazil, India is the second largest sugar producer, and it is estimated that more than 5 crore people dependent on the cultivation of sugarcane alone for their livelihood. And sugarcane industry is broadly distributed over two major areas of production in the country, that is Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Haryana and Punjab in the north, and Maharashtra, and Karnataka, Tamil Nadu and Andhra Pradesh in the south. These are the major sugar industries which are in the country. And one more point, the South India has tropical climate which is suitable for higher sucrose content, which is giving higher yield per unit as compared to the Northern India. So what exactly is this point? I will tell you now. So first we need to know what is the duration of this sugarcane crop. This is a long duration crop, because it will take 10 to 15 months and even 18 months. This is the long duration crop. This is one point. And another point, the average temperature for this crop lies between 21 to 27 degrees centigrade, and the rainfall has to be between 75 to 150 centimeter. So why Northern India? Northern India is also very much suitable, but less compared to southern region. Why? Because of the Northern India summer temperature is more than 35 degrees centigrades, and dry soaring winds, which are in geography we call those as the low winds, and which they hamper the normal growth of the sugar here. And too heavy rainfall results in low sugar content, and deficiency in rainfall produces fibrous crops. And short, cool, dry winter season during ripening and harvesting is ideal for this crop, and these crops can grow in the soils which are including the loamy clay soils, black cotton soils and reddish loams, even the laterite soils. So this India, particularly Tamil Nadu, has loamy and black clay soil which is most suitable for the sugarcane production. This point is important. This sugarcane exhausts the fertility of the soil quickly and extensively, and its cultivation which requires heavy dose of manures and fertilizers. So this is important point. This can be given you, UPSC can ask you in one of the prelims question also, and in mains also for your writing. This point will be very much beneficial for you. And the South India, which offers more favorable conditions for the growth of sugarcane, and the most important sugarcane belt lies in the Northern India. Why I am saying this is because if you talk about the history, this area before the independence, this area is completely used for growing indigo, which is a cash crop that time. After the independence, what happened? Now why southern India is more suitable, but some factors are coming across, that is coming as a barrier for sugarcane, is like the sugarcane crop has to face tough competition for land from, that is a number of other cash crops such as the cotton, tobacco, groundnut and the coconut. These are all the other cash crops. So for the sugarcane has to face a tough competition with these other cash crops. And what is the India stand? Now we have studied about the production, what is happening, how countries have been arguing about this thing, and now we need to understand what is the India stand. And you need to, when we are writing the mains or when you are writing the answer writing, you need to write about, if question is asked about this, you have to write about the India stand also. What is the India stand in this WTO agreement? India has argued at the WTO that it does not offer direct subsidies to the sugarcane farmers and thus doesn't break any international trade rule. And this argument, however, has not convinced other countries, who point out that among other things, and other point is that they were saying the central and state governments in India mandate the minimum price, that is the fair and the remunerative price, shortly FRP, at which sugar mills can buy sugarcane from farmers, In 2021, center set up FRP at 290 rupees per quintal, and that is called as the highest ever FRP on sugarcane procurement. The high procurement price for sugarcane, which was set up by the government, is believed to have led to the supply that has turned caused sugar prices to drop. The low price of the sugar has affected the revenues of the mills and their ability to pay farmers, and also forced many mills to shut down. So this is what the point which was given up by the Indian government. So the government policies which are aiding the sugar industries are to help the sugar sector. Center even has mandated that compulsory blending of ethanol, which is derived from the sugarcane, with fuels such as petrol and diesel. And according to the food ministry, the country's sugar production is likely to remain 30.5 million tons in the next 2021 to 22 season. For the sugar cane will be diverted for ethanol blending. This is also one of the thing which was taken up by the government of India. The state government and the center have also regularly intervened to reduce the debt burden on sugar mills. And one more important point is that the center decided to restructure the loans worth over rupees 3,000 crore which were offered to sugar mills by the Sugar Development Fund. So center also decided to restructure the sugar loans on the sugar mills which were taken by the sugar mills. And further, in the last year's budget, the center has allocated a total of 3,500 crore to fund the export of 6 million tons of sugar. And it also argued that the requirements of the Article 3 of the SCM agreement are not yet applicable to India. This is what India is saying to the WTO. They are saying Article 3 of the SCM is not yet applicable to India, and that India has a phase out period of 8 years to eliminate export subsidy. This is what India has told, and in other words, it also said that Article 27 of the SCM agreement, which is in pursuant to that. So this is what India has said that, and what are the what is lying ahead here. We all know that the WTO's appellate body's decision will be considered final on any dispute, and in this case, India refers to comply with the decision. It might have to face retaliatory action from the other countries. If it not complying with the decision of this WTO appellate body, it has to face retaliatory action from the other countries. And it should be noted that WTO was founded to prevent exactly such tit for tat tariffs that string international trade. Majorly, the WTO is established because of the promote the external trades between in the global markets. So they don't want to like have a fighting between the other nations. So they wanted to prevent exactly such tit for tat tariffs for that string international trade. This is what the WTO is there. In the conclusion, I am saying that India has initiated all measures necessary to protect its interest and to file an appeal at the WTO against the report to protect the interest of its farmers. Exactly, India is protecting the farmers against the report which were given by the other countries, and also the appellate body of the WTO's dispute settlement panel. And the sugar sector needs infusion of capital, but also policy measures and structural changes. Already in the last year's budget, government has given 3,500 crores to the sugar production and to the sugar this in their budget to the sugar production companies. And the technological upgradation is age old mills, especially in the Uttar Pradesh and Bihar, to improve the efficiency in the production. Technological upgradation is also needed for the efficiency to improve the production. So in this editorial, I have told you the brief how to write an answer if question is asked on this topic, and some of the important questions which can be asked in the UPSC prelims also I have discussed here. If you have any doubts and queries, just tell us in the comment section, and thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you.